Hey everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. Today is a really special one because today we're talking about kitchen essentials and kitchen gadgets that I love using. And because it's super hot out there, it's the summer in New York City, always a good salad is it's always welcome, right? It's refreshing, it gives you the opportunity of putting lots of good ingredients that are high protein and packed with fiber and really nutritious. So today we're gonna make a salad and we're gonna do a few components using some kitchen gadgets that I love using here in my kitchen. We're gonna be making a creamy vinaigrette with lemon. We're gonna make a quick pickle onions and we're gonna make roasted chickpeas. So let's get right to it. So we're gonna use my single serve blender today to show you how to make the creamy vinaigrette with a blender that is single serve. You know, the popular one that we all love. And here I have some basics that I absolutely love. One of them is my glass bowl. I like to have different sizes, but this is my favorite size, especially when you're cooking for one or two people. This is a good size for making vinaigrettes, eating salads, even eating cereal sometimes. It's a good one, or prepping anything in smaller quantities. Um, I like my whisk always. Definitely use my measuring spoons to measure some spices, to measure smaller quantities of things like mustard, like we're going to use today, honey, and things like that. I like to use this mini spatula, especially when I'm making smaller quantities of dressing. I'm going to make a smaller quantity of dressing today because it's just me. So I'm going to use the mini spatula to scrape it all out and um, and put it into my salad. And I have a citrus juicer that I love. There's many kinds of citrus juicer, and we'll talk more about it in our. We actually spoke on it on our presentation earlier, but there's many kinds. This one I like because it's fun. I like the color, and you can also juice oranges and other citrus. And my liquid measuring cup for oils and water and all vinegar and things like that. And also my fine strainer. This one is really cool. I just washed it, so it's all wet. But this one I love. I like to wash things like grains, beans. I rinse canned legumes like the chickpeas we're going to use today. I'm going to rinse them here. It's less hassle because I just throw them here underneath the water in the sink, and it's a less bowl, it's less things to wash, and it's really helpful. You can also uh how do you call it? Oh my god, I'm losing my words. When you sift flour, you can also use it as a flour sifter. So it has a lot of different uses, especially for washing produce, washing legumes, washing grains, and straining anything, of course, and sifting flour. So this is really, really useful, and I love it. And lastly, my knife I cannot live without, and my fabulous bamboo cutting board. So let's get started with our quick pickled onions. Um, to pickle onions, we need a pickling juice. And what we use to pickle anything is basically vinegar. And we call this a quick pickle because we're gonna we're gonna sort of add heat to the pickling vinegar. We're gonna heat that first, add some heat to it, warm it up or simmer it. Let me just say that again. We call it a quick pickle onion because we're gonna slightly simmer the pickling juice, and then we're gonna put the sliced onions here with the pickling juice, and we're gonna close it. We're gonna keep it closed at room temperature for 15 to 20 minutes, and we should have quick pickled onions. Usually pickled anything takes a little bit longer, so that's why we call it a quick pickle. So let's start with our pickling juice, and that's basically vinegar. I like to use white wine vinegar. I'm gonna use half a cup for this because I'm not making that much. Oops. We're gonna use half a cup. I like to use the liquid measure, and to measure anything in the liquid measure, make sure that it's in a stable base. Sometimes people measure something like this and they look at it like this to the level of their eye. They bring it towards them. That's not the right way to do it. To be an exact measurement, it should be where it is stable. You could do quarter cup of white wine vinegar and quarter cup of regular vinegar, or or quarter cup of white wine vinegar and quarter cup of apple cider vinegar. I'm just going to add it here. So we're going to do half a cup of vinegar and half a cup of water. Remember the half a cup of water to your pickling juice. And we're going to add some red pepper flakes. You can add as much or as little as you want. And we're going to add some salt. I'm just going to add half of a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to add some sweetener. You can use brown sugar, regular sugar, maple syrup. I'm going to use honey here because we're going to use honey for the other recipe. A trick that I use to for the honey not to stick is that I put it on hot water. You can also use oil, but because I don't want oil in my pickling juice, I'm not gonna put any oil in the spoon. So as long as the spoon is warm, it shouldn't stick. It should come off easier and cleaner. I'll try. That wasn't heat enough, so let's use our little spoon. Perfect. It should be really hot water. So if you have hot water nearby, just circle it around, take it out, and then put any syrup, anything that's sticky. We're gonna mix it and we're gonna simmer it for a few minutes. All right, so while we're simmering the liquid, I'm gonna slice the onion. Since this is a big onion, I think I'm just gonna use half of it. You can use red onion, yellow onion, whatever onion you like. I'm gonna use red onion because it looks very pretty, the colors. Make sure that you cut off the root because we do want them to separate. So we're gonna do the half moon slice, and we're gonna try to be as thin as possible. So I'm going really slow to make sure I'm doing really thin slice without cutting myself. Perfect. So now we're gonna separate them. This is our onion slices. All right, so we're just gonna simmer this for a few minutes. I have it on low heat. It started simmering in high, but I'm lowering the heat now. It smells really, really yummy. We're just gonna simmer it for a few minutes just to warm the liquid a little bit so that it can sort of cook the onions a little bit. All right, let's pickle some onions. This is actually the tomato sauce jar that we use to make lasagna in one of our videos. So I'm reusing. You can pretty much use any jar. I cleaned it very well. I tried to remove these as much as I could, but I couldn't. But that's okay. You can also get mason jars if you want. Very carefully. We don't want to get burned or anything. And now we're going to move it a little bit. So after the 15 to 20 minutes, it's ready to eat. But it's important to put it after 15 to 20 minutes, to put it in the refrigerator right away to make sure it's safe to eat. So you can keep them in the fridge for like a week and eat them like that for a week. So it's important for food safety. So for the roasted chickpeas, you can pretty much use your favorite herbs and spices. Today, I'm going to use chili powder, onion, garlic powder, onion powder, some salt, and some oil. But you can pretty much use your favorite ones. So if you want sort of like a more uh, on the sweeter side, you can use allspice. You can make a mixture like that. You can even do curry chickpeas and use dry curry and use that instead. So get creative with the flavors. Maybe you can make a few batches with different flavors and store them away for later for snacks, for salads and things like that. The most important thing that we need to do with the chickpeas is rinse them well and let them dry. So as you know, we have the magic of TV and we already have the chickpeas prepared for you. But I just wanted to show you. Um, I like to rinse them here, and I like to put them in either a sheet pan with some paper towels on top, and lay them down and make sure you spread them around and let them dry for at least 15 to 20 minutes. And um, let me rinse them and come back. And also, as you clean the chickpeas, you will see there's some, um, as their skins will pop out. If they pop up, that's great because then that means that it'll be more crunchy. If you are, if you want to go all the way and take the skins off of each one, go for it. You don't need to. I don't want you to spend hours and hours make and just dry them as best you can. It's best if you let them air dry a little bit. But if you don't have the time, you know what to do. It's always a good idea to use your sheet pen and use some parchment paper. It's less messy, and it also will help with the crispiness. So if you have the parchment paper, that's a great kitchen tool to have. So now we're just gonna add some olive oil, maybe about a teaspoon or half a teaspoon. You don't need much. I don't like to add a lot of salt, maybe less than quarter of a teaspoon. Everyone can do um, their own flavor. So if you want to skip the salt, just skip the salt. You can totally do that as well. I usually just do a quarter of a teaspoon of each spice that I'm doing. So that's quarter of a teaspoon of garlic powder, quarter of a teaspoon of onion powder, and quarter of a teaspoon of the chili powder. Actually, I'm going to do 2/4 teaspoon, half a teaspoon. We're going to mix them. All right, so now after you mix the chickpeas very, very well, you're going to place them in the oven at 375 degrees to 400 degrees, and you're going to bake them for 15 to 20 minutes, or until, if you want them a little more crispy, you can check on them and see if you want to leave them a few more minutes. All right, so now we're making our creamy lemon vinaigrette. You don't have to use fresh lemons for it. If you can use, bottled lemon juice if you want. You can also substitute the lemon for vinegar, anything acid. So even like orange juice or anything that has some type of acidity to it, you can use this for this creamy vinaigrette. But I wanted to show you how I use my gadgets. So we're gonna juice the lemon. Also, you can use a zester to take out the zest. I'm gonna use the skins for tea later, so I'm not gonna zest it. I love this juicer. It really takes juices all of the lemon. Smells so good too. My fave. So I'm using the juice of a whole lemon, and that's about 2 tablespoons of juice. And now I'm going to add some honey. Here, again, you can use your favorite sweetener. And I'm going to show you the honey trick in a different way. Before it didn't turn out, but I'm going to measure here a tablespoon of the oil. We're going to use a tablespoon of honey here. You can use less if you want, and it won't stick like magic. I love doing that. For Dijon mustard, some people like to add the same amount of honey to Dijon mustard. I'm just going to use 1 tablespoon. Remember, this is our emulsifier. This is what's going to marry the lime juice and the oil. We're going to use a little bit of red chili flakes. You don't have to, but I just love them today for some reason. And I'm going to add a pinch of salt. You can also add salt and pepper to taste, whatever you like. And we're going to use half a cup of the neutral oil. A lot of people, to make a creamy vinaigrette, you really need to pay attention to the mixing. We're going to mix the lemon juice with the ingredients to make this concoction. And then we're going to start adding the oil little by little. So this is where this comes in handy, because sometimes we don't want to just dump the oil because it won't give them time to come together, So we want to mix, and while we mix, we're going to start adding the oil. Let me do it the other way. I'm a righty, so you can see that. And we add little by little, and then before your eyes, you will see a nice creamy vinaigrette. If we put it here, it might separate because it doesn't have enough manpower to keep it together. So when we use the blender, we will be able to emulsify more evenly and with more strength, so the emulsification will last us longer. And so let's try it with the blender. All right, so we're just gonna blend for a few minutes. It's still creamy. I'm gonna use this for the rest of the week because it doesn't have garlic or onion or anything like that. It will last you longer in the fridge. See the difference? This one, because it's been sitting out for a little bit, is starting to separate. And this one will last me way more longer. So this is how the chickpeas looks after 15 to 20 minutes in the oven. Nice. And now we're going to finish it up with our creamy lemon vinaigrette. And there you have my compost salad with all the kitchen gadgets. All right, it looks very yummy and delicious. You can add chicken, you can add boiled eggs, you can add anything you want to your salad. Let's see how it tastes. I'm excited to try the dressing with the pickled onions. The dressing is not too overpowering, but you can really taste the lemon, which is why we use the light oil, the neutral oil. And I love the tanginess of the onion and the crispiness of the chickpeas. So it's a really well-balanced salad. I hope you make these super simple recipes and get to use the tools that you have in your kitchen. We wanted to do this so that you can see that you don't really need lots of fancy things to make healthy meals. See you next time. I'm gonna stay here eating salad.